If someone were to ask you the question, do you lie? What would your answer be? It could be, I don't lie, I lie, or I don't know. Which do you think is the most accurate answer and why? This is a deep question. When we pose this question to our mind, we may observe that the mind instantly takes a position and gathers thoughts and ideas which form supporting evidences for one position or another. Living is a situational and transactional phenomenon, and the mind is the centerpiece of any situation or transaction. We are more interested in what other people lie about than addressing whether we lie in the first place. We cannot silently lie. A lie has to be uttered. It needs words to come alive. Lying is a form of protection. We hold something within the mind which we want to protect. What we seek to protect is much more than a thought or a bunch of thoughts. We seek to protect the identity which we have carefully cultivated over the years. Without going into the concept of this personal identity, this false identity that we have cultivated, it is difficult to understand why we lie. We cannot imagine life without that identity of ours as so-and-so person who may have achieved this or that in life. From that perspective of personal identity, life seems to become more meaningful, whether it's unpleasant or pleasant. Without an identity, we fear that life will no longer become meaningful to us. That fear exists silently within us. When fear finds words, it can become a lie which we utter. A lie is a symptom. It is a projection of the deeper problem that lurks within all of us. That problem is the fear of loss of that false identity that we have cultivated. For example, when we are invited for lunch and we are asked a simple question, how is the food? Even if we don't enjoy the food, we may say the food is wonderful. We may do this out of politeness or not wanting to offend the host. But in a sense, it is a lie, as we have already made an internal judgment that the food was not up to our liking or expectations. Even before the question was ever asked, we made that conclusion. In this scenario, we seek to project the identity of being a polite guest. If you give a child a toy or a food that they like or enjoy, or don't like or enjoy, they don't think twice about being polite. They are honest with their answer, regardless of what we may think. They simply state their dislike if they don't like a toy. If they like what we give them, they're genuine about that as well. They say they like it and they appreciate it. They're spontaneous. We don't take offense to a child experiencing likes and dislikes, especially dislikes, but we are likely to take a strong offense to an adult expressing a dislike. Why is there this difference? The answer lies in the false identity we have created for ourselves, which robs us of the innocence we possessed as children. There is innocence when we don't have the feeling of possessing or wanting to possess something. Everyone is innocent in sleep. There is nothing we can possess during sleep. Even dreams slip away as we experience them. Children carry the same innocence during sleep or wakefulness. The center from which we seek to possess anything is the identity we create for ourselves. It's a false center, a false identity. Since we don't know anything about our true nature or anything about the uncharted terrain within us, we create a new center, the identity, or more commonly called the I. It is superficial, easily accessible to the conscious mind, and a convenient tool with which we transact with the world. It is quite helpful in daily worldly interactions. As long as we don't take the false identity too seriously, we are fine carrying it everywhere we go. The problem arises when we take that identity of ours as a real, sacred, and valuable thing, We sacrifice the experience of the present moment in the name of working and thinking about the future. The future exists only when we carry an identity. Without it, who would we place or project into the future? Without that projection, the future would disappear instantly and we come back to the very present. Without the platform of false identity from which to relate to another, chances are most of the world would fall silent. There may not be a need to interact or communicate with another person. Everyone would be more or less self-sufficient and content within themselves. Luckily, that's not the case. Life is more enjoyable when we interact with others, especially from a true center. Everyone carries an internal identity. Some like to project and enhance it, others like to shelter it. The two extremes, pure extroverts who loudly proclaim their identity and introverts who seek to hide their false identity. Being introvert does not mean becoming introspective. It simply means we like to have our identity to ourselves. There is fear of sharing that identity. Even extroverts are fearful. Their fear may be grounded in the assumption that the world will forget them, and they keep on proclaiming to the world about themselves and their achievements and so on and so forth. Both are grounded in fear. Our identity is nothing more than a ripple on the still waters of our inner consciousness. That ripple started its journey the moment we uttered, "I am." It continues to this day, and we cannot easily forget the prefix I. Even the answer to the question, "Do you lie?" starts with "I do" or "I don't." As long as a ripple of identity remains, we cannot experience the stillness of our own inner consciousness. When we speak from that ripple, the false identity, and not a place of pure stillness. The answer to the question, "Do you lie?" when answered from the perspective of that ripple or identity we have created for ourselves, any answer will always be a lie. The identity is an assumed one, a falsity that we claim as real. How do we reclaim our true identity and answer that simple question, "Do you lie?" more truthfully? The answer lies in watchfulness. Whatever we say or do from the perspective of our false center, the false assumed identity is not real. We can say it is not real as it can be observed by us. Anything that we can observe is subject to change. It may be slow and gradual and imperceptible change or a rapid change. The observer or the perceiver does not necessarily change. The false identity we have assumed as our true center always lies. Without lying, it would not exist. The best answer to the question, "Do you lie?" is, "I don't know." When we are watchful, we become true to ourselves. That truth is not situational or transactional, it is unchanging. When we become the watcher and reclaim our innocence, there will be no need to lie.